Hi everyone, welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. Of course, another week, another opposition preview. This week, of course, 5 games left at Goodison Park. Make sure you're marking that one in your calendar. One of those is welcoming the Hammers, West Ham. Is it the Hammers or the Irons nowadays, Dan? Is it? I know when I was growing up, it was always the Hammers, but is it the Irons or the Hammers now?
Well, hammers are made of iron, so they're interchangeable. Really, we don't call ourselves the Irons, but we'll say "Come on, you Irons," or
Right.
But the Hammers is the nickname.
Interesting, of course. A club steeped in history, West Ham United, and of course I'm joined by Dan Lawless from West Ham Fan TV on today's one. Welcome back, mate. Thank you for coming back on the channel. Good to have you back, of course. West Ham United sitting 16th in the table. Of course, right now, the two clubs pretty much can't separate them, only on goal difference. West Ham's season so far been a bit of an up and down one. I think you'd probably say the same for Everton as well, but maybe in a different capacity in that West Ham have, the last couple of seasons have really been challenging in the top half of the table, and this season it's, now sort of with Everton, who've been, we've definitely not been at our best.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's one of those things of we're trying to build something for the long term, build a new project, and we just chose the wrong man. You could see last season under Moyes, where things were going. It was we was conceding 6, 5, 4s. We was getting the amount of goals we conceded last season was ridiculous. So it was time to change. We made the wrong change, and that trend of conceding a ridiculous amount of goals continued. Everyone said at the time we signed the Spanish David Moyes, and it was worse than that. He was like the Spanish Avram Grant nearly. He was terrible. So it's been a rough patch.
Let's talk a bit about that Newcastle game, because of course a 1-0 defeat, but before that you had 2 wins. You had the win over Arsenal and the win over Leicester. So thoughts on that game, because maybe you could consider yourself a bit unlucky to lose that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. There's a few decisions you look at, but it was a fairly flat game. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think Potter's made a good point, is that, in like 3 games, we've won 2, conceded 1 goal. When you look at our record before, the amount of goals we were conceding under Lopetegui, so it's a slow and steady progress. So, yeah, for me at the moment, it's just with the players we've got, it's hard to enjoy watching us at times. And the squad needs a complete overhaul. The way it was left, a lot of an aging squad, no pace in the side. So listen, at the moment, I'll take what I can get and look for the summer for us to actually build the squad in Potter's image.
So, of course, Graham Potter, that was a bit of an interesting appointment. It was one that maybe some people expected that he would come back into the Premier League at some point. He's, of course, been at the helm now for a couple of months, hasn't he? So what are your thoughts on him, on his reign so far, really? And have you really noticed a difference in the football between him and Lopetegui? And, of course, let's throw David Moyes in there as well.
Yeah, I think there's... in certain instances, we could definitely see an improvement in what he's trying to do. Definitely times where I see us actually trying to move the ball a bit quicker, actually pressing the ball, being a little bit more proactive, although the home performances are still quite flat at times. It's trying to get that balance, like away from home is where we really seem to see this team come alive, and we just at the moment haven't been able to connect it at home. So there's definitely signs. And plus, one thing we haven't seen in recent years is sort of giving young players a chance, and we're seeing now. We've got to see young Ollie Scholes get opportunities. Orford, Guilherme's had a little bit of a go. So we're seeing a little bit more youth get a chance, which is what we want to see. You want to see your academy players come through. But I think for us to consistently be able to play the brand of football that we want to see, we're going to need new players, because these are a mixture of David Moyes players and Julian Lopetegui's players. We've only signed Ferguson on loan. That's it. That's all we've given him. So yeah, I've seen signs, and that was my problem with Lopetegui. I've been willing to give him more time, but I never saw any progress under him. Never saw any signs of progress or anything. It was like from the first game to the last game, I didn't see any improvements, any changes. So yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm seeing progress, and I can see what Potter's trying to do already.
Well, let's use that as an excuse to move on to talk about David Moyes, because I think with West Ham fans, of course, I mean, I'm sure you're tired of hearing about it, but that famous Conference League win, the trophy that he got for West Ham United, and you know, when you talk about David Moyes with an Evertonian as well, he's come back to the club and he seems to have revitalised it a bit and seem to have made the changes in place that can really cement us as not being at least a relegation fodder type team anymore. But thoughts a bit about on Everton this season, but also your thoughts on David Moyes as well, because, you know, talking about Graham Potter, it was pretty unlikely that you were going to bring Moyes back for a third spell. But of course, with bringing Moyes back in, and he seems to have taken us from relegation fodder now to be playing in that pack of United, Tottenham and West Ham. It's a huge difference for us, and thoughts on him really, because for Evertonians, while we were used to the old style of David Moyes, where I think it was pretty similar to what you're saying there about West Ham United. For us, we've seen a much different David Moyes to what we expected when he came back to Everton, you know, compared to what he had in his first spell at the club. So tell us a bit about Moyes now and what your thoughts on him based on his previous two spells at West Ham.
Yeah, like, you know, first time round, it was a tough watch, but he did what he was asked to come in and do, you know, stabilise us and deal with the issues we was in. The second time round, yeah, he exceeded expectations, really and truly. You know, he got us into Europe in that COVID season. We got Lingard in that just catapulted us into European places, you know, and had a really good Europa League run, getting to the semi-finals, you know, and it was a real good run that we could have gone on to win that. You know, I feel like if we could have got through that Frankfurt game, got that red card that killed us, but I think we got through that, we would have gone on to win it. And then to go win the Conference League the season after, brilliant memories, grateful for him and the rest of the team for what they've done. But I think with Moyes, in my opinion, I feel like he's a fairly short-term manager. He looks at a lot of things in the short term. He'll get players for now. So he'll buy the 30-year-old Premier League proven striker. You know, we spent like 18 million on Danny Ings, for example. You know, he will sign those players and think for now, because that's what he sees it as. My job is based on now. I'm not here to build for the long term. I know I might not be here for the long term. So he's coming in, and Everton are sort of benefiting from that short term boost that he can bring. I think you're also benefiting from that last season at Goodison, and from us who the last season at Upton Park, we had a very good season. We was only a few points off top four. Even though we finished 7th, we was only a few points off top four, had a very good FA Cup run. And yeah, it was a great season. And that, knowing it was our last season, every night at that home ground, it felt special, and that drags you through games. You know, we had that excellent last game there against Man United, the 3-2 comeback, things like that. You account for that, and I think that's huge for Everton this season, and I think that is going to drag you for a lot of games this season. I mean, he has to take credit as well for giving you a boost, but it'll be interesting to see next season how you do. You know what I mean? How you migrate to a new stadium. Like, yeah, you've got a proper stadium, unlike us. But there is still, I think, a transitional period of adjustment, you know, that adjustment period. So that's going to be interesting, how you can cope with that. How Moyes does when he starts to mold the team in his image. That was another reason why he couldn't continue at West Ham, is we wanted to try and move in the director of football, you know, try and catch up with the modern game where people are sort of having head coaches and director of football. He's very old school. He's the manager. He picks the players. He builds the team. So whatever you're going to get going forward, for good, for better or worse, is a David Moyes team, David Moyes players, David Moyes philosophy. But if he can have any of the success that he had at West Ham with you, I think Everton fans, with the seasons that you've had for the past few years, you'll take that. If he can fire you up the table, maybe get you into Europe, maybe, win that Conference League, I think Evertonians would have that all day long. So, yeah, I think there's positives and negatives, I think.
100%. I mean, if you offered me the Conference League now, I'd bite your hand off for it, given the trophy drought that we've had. But I think it's really interesting that you say that about David Moyes' philosophy of fully having full charge of the team. Of course, I don't know if you've seen it, but Everton have recently moved from a director of football role to a CEO in Angus Kinnear, who's come in from Leeds United, and of course previously Matt was at Arsenal. So we could be moving more towards that sort of philosophy, and with David Moyes at the helm for the next couple of years. And I'm not necessarily against it really, because we know what he's like. I think with the way Everton have been the last few seasons, it would be promising for us to have a sort of a real spearhead there at the top who can pick the players, and there's one clear philosophy. Because I think with Everton, there's been a lot of a case of too many cooks in the kitchen really, with us signing players from abroad, too much money, and really trying to be more than we really were able to be at that point in time. But West Ham's likely lineup for this week, of course, Lucas Paqueta has come back into the side. Evan Ferguson, who we spoke about earlier, played 20 minutes in the Newcastle game, and of course Somerville and Fulkrug are out. So what's your predictions for the lineup on Saturday?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, talks about it potentially being Paqueta's last ever game if he loses his court case. So this could be it. So I hope he plays like it's his last ever game and gives it everything. But yeah, I can see us having a largely unchanged squad. Maybe Paqueta starts. So you have Areola in goal. Wan-Bissaka, who's been excellent at right wing backs. Ollie Scholes at left wing back. And then probably Todibo, Kilman, and Creswell as at the three centre backs. And then, I think the midfield, that's going to be the interesting one. I think he might go for Alvarez, Souček, who Moyes apparently wants. And this is going to be interesting if there's one guy picking the players. And this is where you're going to have a conflict, because Moyes, he didn't like that when we tried to do it. But the rumours that he wants Souček at Everton. So it'll be very interesting, but I think Souček will start. And we'll see, I think maybe Lucas Paqueta coming in with... It wouldn't surprise me. Goodison has struggled a little bit, so it wouldn't surprise me to see maybe Bowen and Ferguson up top. Maybe finally gives Ferguson a start. If not, it will be Goodison and Bowen. But if he's going to finally start Ferguson, I think this could be the game.
So you think maybe that Evan Ferguson, of course, he was heavily linked with Everton in January, of course, chose West Ham instead. Do you think maybe he could be the danger man going into this one?
I hope so, but at the moment, I haven't seen enough to say, like he's the danger. Like Bowen is still that guy. He's still the danger man. He's still the one to watch out for. I haven't seen enough for Ferguson to be confident about him, but he's a striker and we need a striker. And hopefully with a start, if you can actually start, there's enough time in the game to influence it, rather than coming off the bench and getting those minutes here and there and trying to make an impact over a short space of time. So I would like to say that, but I'm still not fully convinced.
What about Everton? Is there anyone that you're looking at who you think I'm a bit worried about them? Beto's had a bit of a run of form, but he's cooled off a little bit, since the Wolves game and the Brentford game. Anyone you're looking at in the Everton team? Of course, we're struck with injuries at the minute, Dan. So anyone you're looking at that do you think West Ham need to watch out for?
Beto was going to be the one I said, because he did seem to come back into a little bit of form, but. Look, if he's died down, usually West Ham are the team to play when you when you need to refine your form. That's with a gift that keeps on giving. Although I know a lot of clubs feel the same way about their team, and it does seem to be that way. But honestly, like McNeil, I think is still injured. I think is he still injured, right?
McNeil and Ndai, yeah. Ndai and McNeil are both going to miss this one. Armando Broja's the only one who's looking that he might come back.
Yeah. What about Decore?
Decore seems to play every single game for us, and he's a funny player, isn't he, really, Abdoulaye Decore? I mean, he really doesn't possess any specific ability. He just seems to bang one in the most important games.
Yeah, exactly. His name often pops up, you know what I mean? So, those are real, I think, names. You got a Gay, you know, a Ghana Gay. I think he's a good player. Like, there's good players there, but I think Harrison as well. I've still got nightmares after the hat trick he scored against us for Leeds, which put a dent in our top 4 hopes. But yeah, I think what's been sort of good about, and what Moyes has done well at Everton, is that you're not so reliant on unique brilliance. It's the team. You know, no one person is bigger than the sum of the parts. It's like the team cohesion, I think, is what is making Everton so good at the moment, rather than like that one bit of brilliance that player's the thing that keeps it ticking. Do you know what I mean? That's why you can have these injuries and still be doing quite well.
Brilliant. So, any sort of score prediction for Saturday? I did the preview for this one for our channel, and I said that it's going to be a really, really even game, really. I think home advantage might just carry us through this one, and I think it depends a bit on who is going to get the first goal. I've gone for 2-0 to Everton, based off the, as you mentioned before, and we'll talk about a little bit at the very end of the video, the home advantage going into that last couple of games at Goodison. But what are your score predictions?
I think that is going to make it difficult, that the fact that the Goodison and the sort of buzz that it is there. For me, I just don't want to lose this game, because our fans, there are West Ham fans that want to lose this game because of their obsession with David Moyes. And it is obsession. Like, there is admiration and appreciation, but then it goes another level to where you would rather see that man succeed ahead of your own team. And I would tell you this, if we lose that game, there will be West Ham fans giddy with joy and can't wait to go online and say, we told you so, we should have kept him, this, that, and the other. I do not want that. I do not want us to lose this game. I think we could definitely get draw. I think we could see a 1-1 draw. That's what I'll predict. It wouldn't surprise me if you won. Like I said, it's the, you know, we're you know, at Goodison. I think that is going to play a big factor, but I just don't want to lose. Whatever happens, I'll take a draw.
Yeah, I mean, we've drawn our last couple. I think we're due a win really now. But moving on to the lineup quiz, of course, 29th of November 2017. It feels pretty recent, but it wasn't when you look at it, really. I mean, it was a win for Everton, of course. It was the game where Wayne Rooney scored a hat-trick. Some fans, you know, we give them a bit of a tougher one where it's a bit longer to go, but 2017-18, really, I think it was the second season at the Olympic Stadium, but you came to Goodison, and we were able to get one over on West Ham. But do you think you can name some of that 11 who played in that game?
Jesus. Would you say it was 2017?
Yeah, it was the November 2017, so I think it might have been Pellegrini who was the manager at this point.
Yeah, okay. I'll go Felipe Anderson.
Anderson didn't play this game. He's one that I completely forgot about. I mean, you're looking at it, it's pretty similar, I think, to that last game that played at Upton Park, but Noble wasn't in the side at this one, I think.
No Rice. Did we have Rice at that point?
Rice wasn't playing either. It's a funny team, this one, actually, when you think about it.
He's got
Antonio. Antonio came off the bench, so I'll give you that one. He came off the bench. Cresswell did start, yeah. Cresswell obviously would have started at left back in that game.
Cresswell, I want to say Winston Reid, but he would hardly ever fit at that point.
Yeah. Winston Reid, you'd be right in saying that. Winston Reid did start that game, yeah.
Collins?
Sorry?
James Collins?
Collins, no. It was a different centre-back partnership for that one. It might have been a bit of a new one at that point. The goalkeepers are pretty... I don't know if it's an obvious one for West Ham fans, but, a pretty cemented goalkeeper.
18. Did we have... Was that the Roberto season? It wasn't the Roberto season. It would be either Fabianski or Darren Randolph. Would it have been? Neither of those. It was neither of those for the goalkeeper.
It wasn't any of those two. It was an English goalkeeper. I'll give you the.
Joe Hart.
Yeah.
I forgot we had him. I forgot we had Joe Hart.
Yeah.
And he said Noble. Whatever midfielders we had. God, that season was. Pedro Obiang. You have Pedro Obiang at the time.
You can have Pedro Obiang, yeah.
Came off the bench, I guess. Andre. Do we have Andre Ayew?
Yeah, I think it's a 4-5-1 this one, Dan, and I think he probably started on the left or up front.
Yeah, Andre Ayew. I'm trying to think now of our other midfield. We had Obiang, Chiarte, check Chiarte.
Yeah, check Chiarte. You can have you on a bit of a roll now. You're getting a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm getting it. Now it's thinking about the wingers though, because we didn't have Felipe Anderson starting. I'm trying to think who we signed in that summer. And we did. Antonio came off the bench, so who would have started on that one?
I'll give you a bit of a clue. So one of them scored a terrific goal away at Tottenham. The other one, Lanzini, and then the other one is a famous video that gets passed around Twitter, I think. Shedheads.
Oh yeah. Arthur Masuaku.
Yeah. He wasn't a bad player, Arthur Masuaku, to be fair, I think, from what I remember of him.
On his day, yeah, he was alright. Some fans, he's one of them, like, you either loved him or didn't. I know Wilshere definitely didn't play because he hardly ever played, so I'm not going to go out on a limb and say he was fit for this game. Wilshere wasn't on in this game. Yeah, I think we did sign him in that summer. But yeah, if Nobes didn't play, I said Obiang Chiarte, we've got the midfield. And then on the other wing, I said, I'm
just looking at the bench here, and as players you've said, Noble, Antonio and Rice were on the bench, but the didn't. Rice came on as well, who you mentioned before. But he came on for a player who is one, I think you have mentioned. Did you mention Winston Reid? You did?
Yes. Yeah. Right centre back at that time.
And then the centre back next to him.
Yeah, so Winston Reid, that's what I think it because I said James Collins, didn't I? So did we sound, is it Babuena? Was it Issa Diop? Did we sign Issa Diop at that time?
It's not Issa Diop. There's a bit before that, I think.
Yeah, who do we have? Who did we had? Reid, Collins. Centre backs. Who else did we have? If it wasn't Babuena, if it wasn't Diop, it was pre-Diop. Yeah, I can't think. I'm drawing a blank on that for centre back.
It was Angelo Ogbonna was the other centre back.
How can I forget Ogbonna?
And then
how can I forget him, man?
You've named the West Ham left back with Aaron Cresswell. The right back got booked for West Ham in this game. Famous really for playing for another club, moved to West Ham in the sort of twilight of his career.
It was there's two names coming to mind, either Arbeloa, or it'll be Arbeloa or Vieira.
Do you want me to tell you?
Vieira, Patrice Evra.
It was neither. It was Pablo Zabaleta.
Zabaleta. Yeah.
I'll let you have that one because you got it in right at the end, but Antonio, one of the players that you named, came on for the other striker who's playing really, really well now for a Champions League team. Can you have one guess at who might have been striker for West Ham on that night?
I will go 2017. Sebastian Haller.
I think this is before Haller. I'll give it. It was sort of a winger who played up front, but now.
Marko Arnautovic.
Yeah. He playing really well now. He's probably in his prime now, playing for Inter Milan, which we wouldn't have expected given how many years he had in the Premier League. But on the bench for West Ham as well, there was Adrian, Declan Rice, who you mentioned, Edmilson, Fernandez, Noble and Antonio, and Tony Martinez and Diafra Sakho. I remember Sakho under the Slaven Bilic era being a pretty able striker for West Ham, but never really heard of him ever since.
We got rid of him by then. I thought he was gone by then.
He was on the bench. Maybe he left in like the January or something like that.
I think that January must have gone.
And if you're curious, if you're an Evertonian, it was Pickford, Martina, Williams, Holgate, John Joe Kenny, Tom Davis, Idrissa Gueye, Aaron Lennon, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Gylfi Sigurdsson and Wayne Rooney, who started for Everton. So, yeah, a bit of a mad game. I remember we didn't do too well that season. That was the season where we brought Sam Allardyce in, actually. This was David Unsworth, who was caretaker manager. This was his last game in charge before we brought Sam Allardyce in, and really it was a bit downhill from there, and we ended up finishing 8th, which of course nowadays I'd bite your hand off for. But a couple of questions just to finish off, thanks Dan. Nicky, of course, from West Ham Fan TV, joined us in November, and for the reverse fixture he gave us his West Ham Mount Rushmore, his 4 biggest names in West Ham history. He went for Bobby Moore, Paolo Di Canio, Billy Bonds and Trevor Brooken. So we're going to ask you for yours. Would you make any changes to that?
I'm keeping Bobby Moore and Billy Bonds, obviously. I will put John Lyle. I'll swap Paolo Di Canio out with John Lyle, and I'll keep Trevor Brooken. So John Lyle, great manager. Out of all the managers, I'll pick him. So that's the only change I'll make. So mine's more of a classic because it's a Mount Rushmore. Like, they don't add presidents to Mount Rushmore, do they? You don't add new faces. They're not putting bloody Obama or Trump on Mount Rushmore. Like, you keep your great, the historic, So yeah, that's what I would swap Di Canio for John Lyle.
And then last question, just before we finish, of course, West Ham's final ever trip to Goodison Park. You'll be pretty qualified to talk a bit about this. Of course, Upton Park was a famous stadium in England for a lot of years, but a final word on the legacy of Goodison Park, really, and how it's impacted sort of your sort of football and life, really.
Yeah, I mean, it impacted me by getting splinters in my arse with wooden chairs. But it's sad because it is another historic, proper football ground going for a modern corporate stadium, and that's not to put a dampener on you moving to the stadium. But like I said, ours. Look, I know what ours is. It's an athletics ground, but I don't really like any of the new stadiums. Like, I go to the Emirates. I hate the Emirates so much. Like, you go to places like Goodison, Villa Park, even Selhurst Park, they're football grounds. They're not stadiums, and that is the problem, is you go there and it moves football corporate and more sanitized. It doesn't feel like the game that we fell in love with, that gritty, atmosphere that you get in these grounds. Like I say, you go to Goodison, it's proper. It's that proper feeling of football. And it's sad. It is very sad. It's another big loss for football, in my opinion. Hopefully you guys enjoy the new stadium, but you will always really, miss what you have, and you won't realize what you had until it's gone. And that's what it kind of was with us. When we got to the new stadium, we really realized how special Upton Park was and what we've lost, and the fact that we can never get it back. Maybe if we had a purpose-built stadium, it might be different, but I don't think so. If we had a proper, say if we had something like yours looks fantastic, like really good, really impressive what it's done, but it's not Goodison. It's not Upton Park. And that's the thing. So yeah, I personally, I think it's a shame. It would have been nice if you could have built on Goodison in some way, extend it. But yeah, same way with Upton Park. I would have loved it if we could have extended it, and I think we probably could. But free stadium, why not?
Well, we'll have to see how it plays out. I mean, I've been once during one of the test events, and it looks absolutely brilliant. Hopefully, we'll be able to carry over that same atmosphere that we have from Goodison Park. But of course, it can't be ignored how much of an impact Goodison Park has had on English football. You know, the first ever purpose-built football stadium. And the list goes on of firsts at Goodison Park. But into the new era we go. We'll see how it goes. But thank you so much for coming on, Dan. Tell us where we can find all of your stuff.
Yep, you can find West Ham Fan TV, Lawless Live. Find me on there. I'll be doing a watch along tomorrow or today, when we're watching this, for the game. So you can come check that out. Join me. All Everton fans, welcome.
Amazing. Make sure you go and check out Dan. Make sure you go and check out West Ham Fan TV as well. Get your score predictions in for the game on Saturday in the comment section down below. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Toffee Blues, and we'll see you in the next one.